Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
Hello and welcome back to your regularly scheduled programming. Even though this isn't necessarily regularly scheduled at all, it's probably one of the biggest issues I'm having right now is consistency with material and getting material posted consistently, which is why I've kind of reevaluated what I've been doing over the past year and some change, almost 2 years now, with the channel. I really like, editing and doing all that stuff, which is kind of what this podcast was based off of. It's a very much delayed, but I just feel as if I'm not going to force videos anymore because a lot of the times I feel like a panicked a tourist, or like I just feel, I don't know, just it's not how I felt as if it was. I don't know if I felt as if it was gonna feel like anything, but I just don't like trying to capture every single moment. That's not what I do some of the videos for. I don't do it to capture every moment, and it's cool having moments to look back on in like a collage. I mean, Rocky had a montage, but fucking it's hard to like suffice a day of recording and focusing on capturing shit when really all I want to do is just enjoy the day and do the thing I went to do, like whether it's golf, kayak, or whatever. Not that I won't stop doing those things, but I think I'll have more. I have way better of an understanding now of what type of videos I want to make and then what type I don't want to make. Trial and error, not that it's like a finalized thing, but it's something I'm going to gradually work towards. In specificity for this, I think I'm just going to start delving into, the podcast a little bit more. I think there's a lot that I am more passionate in the podcast world versus like the video editing world. I feel like the video editing world, that is a true testament and passion to the people who do that professionally, because it is an art and it takes so much fucking time, especially to make a good video or a good edit. Not to say that I won't do it ever again, because I will, but it takes a lot out of you and it takes a lot to do. So I think just with whatever the fuck I want to do in life in general, I don't know if editing is what I want to do. It's a part of what I'm doing, so I'm gonna continue to do it, but otherwise I think that my focus will go more towards what I feel passionate towards, what I really enjoy doing, which ironically enough is just talking like this on a podcast about, cool topics that I find interesting. I'm fueled better by them, and I don't know if that's a, self-reflecting mark to say that I like podcasting a little bit more than editing videos, but it is what it is. I like the final product of the videos, making that's cool, and then, looking back on it in 5 years, like, oh wow, look how gay I was, look, I was a fucking faggot, but whatever. But mainly this podcast specifically was geared towards me driving back from my spring game, talking about a topic that I'm pretty passionate about, that I feel like I'll continue to dive into. This is just the beginning of it, but just something I wanted to sparsely touch on, kind of open up maybe some thought patterns, maybe some deeper dives on some deeper topics, and maybe even talk to some individuals who may have something to say about it. But without further ado, does it translate? I'm on my way back to Philadelphia way, southeastern suburban Pennsylvania way, after going to the Marshall spring game with some of my old constituents and my old buddies. Real fun time, real great seeing everybody. Everybody's doing very well. I got some GoPro shit of just chopping it up with the guys. It's at the game and all in between. Missed the golf round. Didn't have an SD card handy with me during that time, which is like the only and the most important thing that you need while recording with the GoPro is the damn SD card, and I forgot it. So that's just how it goes. So that's how life goes, as Lil Uzi would say. But yeah, and I wanted to start this with a granular topic that had nothing to do with what I actually wanted to talk about, and it was a poem written by Benjamin Franklin called "Fart Proudly," and I'm going to insert the poem now. This is a letter from Benjamin Franklin to a Royal Academy about farting. This was written and released in 1781. I stumbled upon this, I don't know how long ago, but when I did, I read it, and I loved it for, the straightforwardness of simply farting proudly. And I guess in a lot of ways, farting proudly is kind of a metaphor. It's a funny metaphor, but, in life, farting, quote unquote, whatever you can translate farting to, is nothing pretty or fantastical about it. It's just something that needs to happen and that happens naturally. So we should do it proudly, because if we don't, then, there's a lot of detrimental side effects that come along with it. So if you think about this in the aspect of maybe being yourself, or, shooting for the stars, or going for it all, fart proudly, do it proudly. Because otherwise there are some detrimental health effects that coincide with that, holding a fart in. But without further ado, this is Fart Proudly. Ben Franklin starts with, "Gentlemen, I have pursed your late I fucking can't even start the first few minutes of this without. It's also fucking old English, so let me start by that. Do not abide by any of the words that I'm saying, because I can barely read in general, so this is going to be tough, especially when there's French, and I should know French because I took it in high school, but whatever. Bonjour. Gentlemen, I have perused your late mathematical prize question proposed in lieu of one in natural philosophy of ensuing year, viz. Une filière quelconque dont on demande d'inscrire le plus grand nombre de fois possible une autre filière plus petite quelconque. Qui est-ce qu'aussi donne? I forget what that means. I was glad to find these following words. L'Académie a jugé que cette découverte, en entendant les bornes de nos connaissances, ne sera pas sans utilité. That you esteem utility an essential point in your enquiries, which has not always been the case with all academies. And I conclude, therefore, that you have given this question instead of a philosophical, or as a learned express it, a physical one, but you could not at the time think of a physical one that promised greater utility. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the fuck Ben Franklin was all torn up about, but it seemed like he was pretty passionate to these Frenchmen about farting. So, permit me then humbly to propose one of that sort for your consideration, and through you, if you approve it, for the serious enquiry of learned physicians, chemists, and of this enlightened age. It is universally well known that in digesting our common food, there is created or produced in the bowels of human creatures a great quantity of wind, that the permitting this air to escape in the mix of the atmosphere is usually offensive to the company from the fetid smell that accompanies it. That we all bred people, therefore, to avoid giving such offense, forcibly restrain the efforts of nature due to discharge that wind, that so retained contrary to the nature, it only gives frequently great present pain, but occasions future diseases, such as habitual colics, ruptures, tympanies, and often destructive of the constitution, and sometimes life itself. Were it not for the odiously offensive smell accompanying such escapes, polite people would probably be under no more restraint in discharging such wind in company that they are in spitting or in blowing their noses. My prize question, therefore, should be to discover some drug wholesome and not disagreeable to be mixed with our common food or sauces that shall render the natural discharges of wind from our bodies not only inoffensive but agreeable as perfumes. That this is not a chimerical project and altogether impossible may appear from these considerations that we already have some knowledge means capable of varying the smell. He that dines only stale flesh, especially with much addition of onions, shall be able to afford a stink that no company can tolerate, while he that has lived for some time on vegetables only shall have the breath so pure as to be insensible to the most delicate noses. And if he can manage so as to avoid the report, he may anywhere give vent to his griefs unnoticed. But as there are many to whom an entire vegetable diet would be inconvenient, and as little quick lime thrown into jakes will correct the amazing quantity of fetid air arising from the vast mass of putrid matter contained at such places, and render it rather pleasing to the smell, who knows but that little powder of lime, or something equivalent, taken into our food, or perhaps a glass of lime water drank at dinner, may have the same effect on the air produced in and issuing from our bowels? This is worth the experiment. Certain it is also that we have the power of changing by slight means the smell of another discharge, that of our water. A few stems of asparagus eaten shall give our urine a disagreeable odor, and a pill of turpentine, no bigger than a pea, shall bestow on it and the pleasing smell of violets. As why should it be thought more impossible in nature to find means of making a perfume of our wind than of our water? For the encouragement of this inquiry, from the immortal honor to be reasonably expected by the inventor, let it be considered of how small importance to mankind, or how small a part of mankind has been useful, those discoveries in science that have heretofore made philosophers famous. Are there 20 men in Europe at this day the happier, or even the easier, for any knowledge that they have picked out of Aristotle? What comfort can vortices of attraction of the particles of matter can it afford to ease him to know, who is racked by their mutual repulsion and the cruel distensions of it occasions? The pleasure arising to few philosophers from seeing a few times in their life threads of light untwisted, separated by the Newtonian prism into 7 colors, can it be compared with the ease and comfort of every man living might feel 7 times a day by discharging freely the wind from their bowels, especially if it converted into a perfume? For the pleasurers of one sense being little inferior to those of another, instead of pleasing the sight, he might delight the smell of those about him, and make numbers happy, which to a benevolent mind must afford the infinite satisfaction. The generous soul, who now endeavors to find out whether the friends he entertains like best claret or Burgundy, Champagne, or Madeira, would then inquire also whether they chose musk or lily, rose or bergamot, and provide accordingly. And surely such a liberty of expressing one's sentiments, and I love how he spelled sentiments with a SCENT. It just shows the lollygagging Ben Franklin was on right now. And pleasing one another is of infinitely more importance to human happiness than that liberty of the press, or abusing one another, which the English are so ready to fight and die for. In short, this intervention, if completed, would be, as Bacon expresses it, bringing philosophy home to men's business and bosoms. And I cannot but conclude that in comparison therewith, for universal and continual utility, the science of philosophers above mentioned, even with the addition, gentlemen, of your figure quelconque, and the figures inscribed in it, are altogether scarcely worth a farthing. So I mean, I'm not entirely sure how I intended this to translate to does it translate. especially with the topics that I discussed. But I think what can be learned here is that you need to stand on business. And that's exactly what fucking Ben Franklin did in this instance. He stood on business. He said, all these Frenchmen are talking about we got to start scenting our farts and our burps and our shit like that. Everybody should be wearing perfumes and, scarcely or really closely regulating their bodily, habits and shit, because we need to regulate everything, including our farts. Ben Franklin was like, bullshit with that, dude. People need to fart proudly because it's a natural body occurrence. And as soon as you start governing the simple orifices of the human body, what else are we going to start governing in the fucking, grips of society? I think we need more fart proudly writings about simple shit. Because Ben Franklin did it to the fucking Byzantine Empire. I don't even know if that's correct. Byzantine Empire, I'm pretty sure it's prehistoric. I'm pretty sure that's fucking like Egyptian times. But whatever. He fucking brought it to fucking France and told them, fuck off. I'm farting. I'm burping. Do whatever the hell I need to. Which makes sense. And it's so vital that I feel like people have this mindset about certain simple shit. Because whatever the French were trying to draw up conclusively about farting or about the displeasures that it has in society, they were severely wrong. And that shit did not translate to anything they were trying to compare it to. You're trying to compare like people's entire diets and health to like a single fart that they're giving out in public. Yes, some people's, digestive tracts and their farting is directly related to their diet, sure. I don't think anybody back then was eating, mass-produced foods coming in fucking plastic tinfoil lined bags or anything. So it's not like anybody was eating that much out of the norm. It was just a matter of how smelly a fart was, and they were just trying to regulate the shit, which doesn't make sense. That shit doesn't translate. You can't regulate a fart. Are you kidding me? How are you gonna regulate a fart? That makes no fucking sense. You're going to tell people to start taking pills and lime water before every fucking meal so they can have good smelling farts? I can tell you right now, dude, it's hard to make a fart smell good. Even if you like your own farts, you still know they smell like shit, but the only reason you sniff them is because they're tolerable and they're coming from your butt, so you'll smell it. And you're kind of doing it as a freaking science experiment because you don't know whether or not that fart's healthy or not. But if you had a smell tab to see what farts smelled good or what farts were healthy and what farts were unhealthy, that makes sense. That's when you do this. And I think the greater idea for the does it translate, when I was talking about do sports translate to life, and I think previously when I was talking about this I was a little hung cheddar and I was in a car, so I was just blabbing, but I think I was a little reluctant to say how much something translates to real life, especially from sports to life, in any life. I think everything that sports gives you tool-wise prepares you to take on these occasions and to take on the stimuli of life. But life is a very specific experience, and it takes learning and lessons learned, and it takes education and educated opinions to advance in certain places, and it takes help. Nobody wins alone. Yeah, I was just watching Ayrton Senna, the series. This week we're racing in Imola Roma for F1, and that's exactly where Ayrton Senna died. But one of the finishing pieces he had on the series, and which is why he raced for so long, even past all the times of collusion and all the times where he was bogged down by the FIA or whatever, he always would say that the reason I used to race was selfishly, because I was racing to win for myself. But now, after 20 years of racing, he realized that he doesn't race to win for himself. He races because no one ever wins alone. When you win, it was never done by yourself. Unless you're fucking Usain Bolt, even him, his trainers, his family, the country of Jamaica. Like, nobody wins alone. And I think, that is a common thread for the sports translating to life, because you cannot win alone. But I think what sports does specifically with, certain Division I football, situations, people assume that they did it all on their own and that they had this individual success story, that it was all done by themselves and that they won alone and that they're going to win alone for the rest of their lives. And when somebody doesn't make it in sports and it fucking falls face flat in life, it fucking hurts and it sucks, and nobody tells them that they can rely on others and that they can, distribute this load of life together. Nothing in life is to be handled alone. There are some things that you face alone, but there's always going to be someone or something to help you. Drugs, love, whatever, man. I'm not here to, blanket cover situations. I'm just trying to say how one thing kind of is what it is, cuz sports don't directly translate to life. The tools that it gives you directly translate. But I could tell you right here, right now, some of the best athletes ever, no matter what sport, probably live some pretty, rough lives because there was always this immobilization from the gratification that you get from sports, and especially there's a lot of instant gratification for top tier athletes in sports. So when that doesn't happen in life, and it doesn't, it fucking again immobilizes people. And this is why it's so important to do the things that built you and directly translate and make fucking sense. And it's to do the basics. And I'm going back to Ayrton again, Senna, because he was just saying, do shit out of dedication, do shit out of determination, and do it out of love, man. And anything in life can be rooted to that. If you do it out of love and you're just determined to do it, it'll happen eventually. No matter how, it's gonna happen. But you don't want to immobilize yourself with these fictitious situations that coagulated an outcome in a sports world because it happens so specifically. I don't think anything directly translates from sports to life. I think the tools and the situations do, and you have to remodel that and restructure it. But that doesn't translate. That doesn't mean that translates. It means that you have the tools and you have everything, but do you have the directions to build that cabinet? Do you have the directions to replace that engine? No, you got all the tools. Does it translate? No, I have fucking hammers, I got screws, I got power drills in my fucking garage. Doesn't mean it translates to know how to build a motor or it translates how to build a fucking birdhouse. You got to learn those techniques. It takes a team, it takes education, it takes people next to you to win and to help you win. And I hate when people just say, "Oh, play sports, it translates to life." No, that's not fucking it, man. And I kind of hate how reluctant I was in this podcast to talk about that the way I did, because it does, but it doesn't, man. There's a lot of people who are really good at sports that are struggling in life. There's parts of my life that I'm struggling that if you look at my sports background, you should immediately be able to translate that and you should be fine. No, it's not how it works, man. Life is a different ball of wax. I got the tools for it. I just have to, break it down and metaphorize it for myself. It's like when people in fucking France are looking at un figure quelqu'un donne demande del nombre, we're gonna fucking monitor people's farts because we do that with the bathrooms. You should eat and you should monitor your farts. That's how it should work. No, it's not. It doesn't fucking make sense. It doesn't connect. It doesn't connect. You fucking fart proudly, dude. You have to do the basics. The basics are always with us. Wake up, be happy, love, dedicate, populate. I don't fucking know, but whatever your basics are, if you're feeling stagnated and fucking isolated and weird and fucked up, get back to the basics, man. It always helps. It sucks. I can tell you one thing though, the basics fucking translate. They translate every time. Dedication, love, and passion. That shit will outweigh anything anywhere else, no matter what you do. I could be really good at golf, and I love golf. I think golf gets me bitches, but if there's a dude over here or whatever who likes golf a little bit more and is more passionate about getting better, he's going to eventually whip my ass. It's just how it goes, man. I'm 6'1", 210. I was a pretty decent athlete. Could I have translated my collegiate career into a professional football career? Yeah, but it doesn't always translate. There's people smaller, slower, weaker than me, or bigger, stronger, faster than me that are doing it at the pro level in different ways and excelling in different ways because what they did translated. So whatever I'm doing is translating to my life. And if If I don't know that yet, that's fine. But it's a matter of the basics, sticking to the basics, and at the end of the day, translating what makes sense to you and to your life, and making sure that works, and that you're improving in some way, and that you're fulfilling yourself in some way. But I'd hate to sit here and say, oh yeah, that translates. You play this, it'll be this. You do this game of life of golf, and it immediately translates. Sure, in so many ways it does, but it's not a fucking Monopoly get out of jail free card. It still takes the same amount of passion, the same amount of dedication, the same amount of work, and the same amount of love that it did prior to what you think is translating. It takes the same amount of love, man. It's just a different way. So enjoy me talking to myself in my fucking car for 7 hours. So I just cut in myself reading it because I'm not going to do that while driving. But I was really excited when I heard that poem because of the value it brought to me. And, first of all, it's Ben Franklin writing something like that in like I don't even know what it was. I'll probably say it in the thing. It was like 1800 something. And he was probably just trying to get a little giggle out of somebody. But at the same time, he was just trying to be honest, upright, and give an understanding and give information to people who may have not had it. And when the perception at the time may have been, oh, that's not very ladylike or very manlike, or that's inappropriate, or that's not what we do, or that's not something we do, or that's against the grain, that's against the mold, that's against the fabric of society to not, or to fart everywhere and to let it loose. I think that's the problem with a lot of society in today's day and age, is that we don't metaphorically have enough people farting proudly. I think everybody needs to fart proudly. I think in life you need to fart proudly, literally and metaphorically. Because if you're reading that, you see the detriment that holding in a fart does for yourself. And are you saving some other people? For a moment, yeah. But for that time, it's destroying your intestinal lining for the future, and they're on for it. So if you look at that if you want to break it down into life, at all the meanings of life, I would just look at it in the sense of, don't hold back who you are. Unapologetically be yourself. There's no need to cater or switch or coincide with someone's expectations or something that you may even perceive to be a certain type of way. I think it's important to figure things out along the way sometimes too. You're not always going to know exactly how things are supposed to go, or not everything is as rigid and chronological and as perfectly clean cut as a fucking TikTok or a daily routine TikTok, or Ashton Hill or whatever, the dude dunking his face in water. Like, his life isn't like that. Life isn't a perfectly scheduled class that you show up on time for every single day. I'm not going to sit here and say that implementing routines is bad. If you have a good routine and it helps you, incredible. But life isn't like that. Life is oblong, it's shaped weird, it's timed weird, it acts weird, it does weird stuff, but at the end of the day, it always comes full circle. And that thing, life, is a funny motherfucker. It somehow is probably the most satirical. Life is the most satirical comedian that ever existed. I don't know if satirical comedian is I don't know if that's a term, but life just has so many ways of speaking to you in so many ways. I don't even know what I just said. That could be the beers from last night talking, but whatever, man. Fart proudly. Stop giving such a fuck about the rigidity or the expectations of society or of a certain thing, because they don't really give a fuck about you. And to be honest, they're just gonna fucking trash you anyway. Like, no matter how good you do, you're still gonna fucking suck to people. You could be the coolest, most successful guy in the world, you're still gonna suck to a lot of people. So who fucking cares, man? Who fucking cares? Fart proudly, man. Don't fucking hold your fart backs for somebody else. You're gonna fucking kill yourself from IBS. You're gonna have a fucking fucked up stomach for not pooping and farting when you want to. Fart proudly. I mean, take that with a grain of salt. I had some friends that used to fart way too fucking proudly. Like, at least show it off or something, or step outside. Bleep that or cut it. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of this. It's like the central message of what I wanted to get across with the fart proudly shit, is that fucking fart proudly, you know. And I need to get better personally with transitions of topics on podcasts, because in my head, when I'm about to say them, they sound so much more smooth, and then when I do it, it's literally like somebody just dropped dead at the function, and you have to change the topic real quick. Like, how hard is that? How hard is that to do? Like, imagine if somebody just fucking falls out in the middle of like a rooftop function or something. Like, how are you supposed to change the topic of the convo with everybody? I don't know how to do that. It's hard. It's like transitioning in podcasts. Unless you're talking to somebody, you can't bounce something off them. That's just how it goes, though. Superdrol. But by the title of this, does it translate? I really wanted to mainly talk about, which is, I feel like, going to be an ever and all-lasting convo and topic, is, does it translate? Does it translate? And I feel like this is never going to be a one-episode thing. I feel like I need to like do multiple. But like, does for me specifically, and since I have such a fresh consensus on it, because I was just at my spring game with some old alums. I was with alumni from 1972 to me, which is 2018 to 2022. So there's 50 years of herd brothers strutting around, and it was a really cool experience. It always was a really cool experience. I love going to that place. It's absolutely bananas. It's like going into an ancestral realm of like collegiate football, of martial collegiate football. It's like dying, or it's like taking the purple ayahuasca plant and then dying and then going to the ancestral realm and seeing like your true divinity or whatever. But anyway, the main thing that I wanted to talk about was, does it translate? Like, for me specifically, I feel like seeing that amount of like alumni spanning from all different time zones, like from 1975 to 2022, like I said, it's like being in the ancestral realm of like the alumni football. Like, you take the purple plant from Black Panther, and then you just like get to see your divine intervention or your divinity and like whatever ancestral plane of football that you're in. But I mainly wanted to talk about, does it translate, because I assumed that I was going to have a fresh mind slate on it coming from that event or those events, and being able to talk about it in a 7-hour car ride. But then you realize, like, what does that really talk about? But I could figure it out. But the does it translate portion, I feel like it stems from a lot of different things, right? And it's not, for me, it's football, and that's my comparison. That's my only knowledge base, but that's my knowledge base that I'm using for this. And for a lot of people, if you played any type of collegiate sports, or even just college in general, like something you went really hard for and was passionate for, and how it transitioned into life, like career and life, you, family, and life, like, does it translate? Does the, kind of similar to the TikTok routines that I'm talking about, does it translate? Can I look at that and will it translate to my life? Does it translate to my life? Does it make sense? Or for me, what I'm kind of more talking about is, does the work and the attributes and the habits that
I personally have built as a football player in the 6 years of playing NCAA Division I football for Marshall University. It's not felt good when you're fat. Like, does anything that I've earned, and accumulated, and changed and done in that time, does it translate to life? More specifically, do sports translate to life? And I feel like, in a lot of ways, you can argue yes, and in a lot of ways, you can argue no. And I think, personally, there's probably more yeses than nos, but I also believe that there's more nos than what people perceive. I think that there's attributes that you earn in sports or you learn in sports that when it comes to life, they translate perfectly. Like, I was talking to one of the alumni, and Bob Pruitt, one of the legendary coaches that we had at MU, always used to say, win the day, which I feel like is a very simple concept, and a lot of ball guys would know that terminology, win the day. And I think if you take something as simple as that and carry it into life, and this is what I said to him, no matter what, that's going to help you. If you win the day, you won the day. No matter if it's ugly or pretty, you beat them by 40 or you won by 1. Like, win the day. Doesn't matter how it's done, win the day. And all of this stuff, right? Like, it doesn't just come like somebody hands you a paper coupon with win the day on it, and all of a sudden, like, it's ingrained in your genealogy forever. And this is however, anytime you have any type of confliction or issue in your life, this is how you think. No, this is earned over time, and you have to see yourself live the mistake and then live the success in order for for me too. Like, this is how I feel like that's how I would learn from something. I'd have to live the mistake and then learn from it and then live the success. That's truly how, oh, fuck me. I feel like that's truly how people grow to understand and change in life, because you've seen yourself fuck up and then you've learned from that, and then you've seen yourself succeed in the same situation. And you've seen yourself succeed in the same situation. So when it comes to shit like that, you have to just be real with yourself. You just Not everything's going to translate one to one. Like, all that, I think a really good comparison for what I'm trying to paint the picture for would be Terry Tate off his linebacker. Like, if you're trying to take the same intensities, or you're trying to match the same environmental impact that you had as a football player and carry it into life, you're going to be disappointed. Because first off, not everybody really cares about sports like that. And to be honest, nobody really gives a fuck about how good of a football player you were unless you're Tom Brady, which is, I feel like that was a finishing thought to what I was going to say earlier. I'm like, no matter how good you are, people are still going to shit on you. Like, Tom Brady's probably one of the, like, they still got people that fucking hate him, so who cares? But, like, you can't assume that the impact you had as a player is going to carry on into life either. Because you did the things as a player, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a one-to-one translation of life. Life doesn't reward you the way sports do. Sports are actually way more rewarding, and you get way more. A lot of times, coaches used to say, like, I'm a coach. I function off delayed gratification. I don't get happy until you guys make the league or you guys win the championship, and I just have to sit there and say, oh. First of all, shut the fuck up. Second of all, that's the most selfish, like, inward facing assumption, or not assumption, or like description of you being a coach. Like, oh my god, I'm so good that I'm not the guy that, like, you basically put yourself on like an O-line pedestal without playing O-line. So first of all, shut up. But, like, Yeah, like some of the intensities that you're taking into life aren't gonna translate the same way they did in the sports realm, bro. Like, that's why there's satirical shit like Terry Tate, the office linebacker, because some people really think they can office linebacker their way through life. And that's not how this shit works. Like, you have to grow and adapt. You have to use the attributes that got you through the grind mentally and somewhat physically and apply them towards life. Because simple things like winning the day or that 1% better stuff, like, it's just keeping the picture small, or yeah, keeping your focus small, worrying about the little things, because the big things will fill in, like not being too high, not being too low. I'm just trying to fire off some coaching slang terms here. I wish I had more. I'm way more hungover than I thought, because I just had a fucking thought freeze, and I don't even think the thoughts that I'm connecting now relate to what I was saying previously.
Watch out. Vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Oh, thanks, appreciate it. But no, just like stuff like that, like you have to take it with a grain of salt. Sports are not a measurement of life, and it's funny, a lot of the sports are not a measurement of life. And I think where people struggle is that I love how I'm speaking from this fucking super educated point of view. Like, I've done it all and I've won it all, but I'm just trying to provide some insight that sports aren't a one-to-one translation of life. Like, I don't want people to think because you were super, super good at sports that you can basically just walk into life and be mega successful. I think that works for a lot of people, maybe in some different ways. But like, I take a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, for example, or even like not Martellus Bennett, his brother. He wrote a book. I can't remember. It was called. He wrote a book. I can't remember what it was called, but Martellus Bennett. I can't remember his name, but he played for the Eagles, and he wrote a book called "That Things That Make White People Uncomfortable." And I thought that book was actually pretty good. But like, those guys, like probably the Hall of Fame football players, like guys like Larry Fitzgerald, football, like Hall of Fame guys, really, really good football players. People that you would expect to just walk into life and be mega successful no matter what they did. Right, wrong, or indifferent, however you feel about that. But Larry Fitzgerald I brought up because, yes, is he an extremely good football player? Right. And the way he did football, the way he performed and prepared and did all that shit, was how he prepared to exit football and go into life. He had a game plan. He probably was watching film. He was probably reaching out to his agent, making connections, doing all the stuff. But I'm saying more specifically, Larry Fitzgerald, after he stopped playing football, he went and got like an MBA at Harvard, like a Harvard Business School. Like, he went back to school and got a degree. The same, like, humble, working your way up the ladder, grinding, getting 1% better each day, winning the day, being a good person, and shaking hands and yes sir, yep, when can I be here tomorrow type shit. Like, that was how he handled life. And I feel like that's as simple as it has to be. I think even with sports, no matter what you do, or with college, or you have to make it translate. And ultimately, it's up to you at the end of the day to make that shit happen. Like, just because you played this or you did that doesn't mean it translates. And it's like in football, when two teams play each other, and then one of the teams loses to a shitty team or beats a really good team, a few weeks down the line, it's because shit doesn't translate. 1 + 1 does not equal 2 in life. Maybe on math and in Fibonacci's circle, but in life, 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Like, that's just the way it is. Things will never be the same. It's going to be a way shorter podcast than I intended. I'm going to have a lot more driving to do than I thought, but does it translate? Probably not, is my thing. But could it translate? Probably so. But it's not 1 + 1 = 2, man. It's not just like, oh, this happened, I do this, and this should happen. No, it takes. Life is funky, man. Life is like it's not one form or one consistent shape. You have to constantly be shape shifting with it and moving with it, and it's hard, man. Life is hard, but not everybody gets a life either. Not everybody gets a life to live. So it would be a shame if it was easy. You know what I mean? So we get so blessed to live these lives that give us hard decisions. And if you have an easy life, kudos to you and more power to you. But, you know, life is hard, man. And translating decisions like that to life and trying to see if stuff translates, it's hard. And some stuff may. Like a lot of the times with sports, a lot of the character building stuff that builds you as a person and makes like how you got along with people, or how you met people, or how you made friends, like that definitely translates to like stuff like that translates to life through and through, because that's what gets you through the minutes of the days, is the type of person you are to others. And that's something that will always translate and will never fade, is who you are as a person. That's just whatever. Not trying to get spiritual or moral here. I'm not trying to be on some moral high ground that I have yet to stand upon. But not everything's always going to translate. And I feel like people have to be careful with that. And I feel like there needs to be more of a transitional understanding for athletes. I think there needs to be more of a transitional understanding for anything, for anybody. College to life. Like every other fucking country, I'm pretty sure Canada included, like when students graduate high school or college, they get like a year or two off. They just take a year off. Like they just stop playing ball, or they just stop going to school. They just live life. It's pretty sick, man. And we're trapped in America, and America is this fucking social experiment in itself. It's been a social experiment for the past fucking 30 some years, probably 50 years plus. And they just expect you to just fucking wither down and never truly find or understand what you like or love to do. And sometimes that takes, you know, a little bit of weathering of the rock on yourself. Sometimes it takes a little chipping at the soul to figure it out. But I'm getting way stranded off my topic. I'm going on an island. But I don't know. I feel like I touched on kind of what I wanted to touch on. I mean, I really didn't want to make this super long because I don't really know how it's going to turn out. But I just wanted to be really clear cut and just talk about some shit that was close to me. I mean, this weekend that I just had was absolutely amazing. If anybody's familiar with Marshall University, I'd say I probably had the most Marshall University resembled weekend that I possibly could have had, especially as an alumni. So I'm really, really happy about that. And getting to see everybody around, all the guys I used to play with, freaking NFL guys. I mean, I played with NFL. I played college with guys who play in the NFL now. Like, it's such a blessing. And they're all such good people. Like, that shit translates. Like, I guess what the higher meaning to this is, like, if you are a good person and you know that and you're a good soul and you carry on through life with the same habits, it will translate. And you carry on through life with good habits and you're I don't even know what to attribute to like good life or good habits or good guy, because I feel like there's not one way to say it or do it or be it. But if you do all that, it's going to translate, man. And if you're cutting corners and shit, you know, we had a coach who used to say it catches up to you when it catches up to you. And that's how life is too, man. If you're out here sneaking and geeking on your wife and she doesn't know, it's gonna fucking catch up to you, man. We don't know when. You could be living high and mighty, but it's gonna catch up to you when it catches up to you. And I think that couldn't be more of a blissful way to kind of cap this off. I may have something to say later, but I really don't think it may be worth it. I love everybody, and that's one thing that I want to do more is spread more love. So you should do it too. Guess what? I love you.